Today we're in Washington State for the trial of the Alis, the mom and dad of a young woman who they both attempted to murder, allegedly. But that's not the whole story. I'll have more in just a second. Hi, Tony DeWitt here. I'm a Missouri appellate attorney, retired, and I bring you a fresh perspective on the law without offering any legal advice. So pull up a chair. This is what we're discussing today. Sometimes the story that you hear in court is not the whole story. Sometimes that's because of the way things work. Sometimes it's because a certain piece of information that is probably, pretty important and doesn't get to come in because someone decides that it's not relevant or that it's too prejudicial. In other words, more prejudicial than probative, that it suggests a decision on the basis of an emotional reaction and not on the basis of logic or reason. And in this situation, this case today, that's what we have. We have mom and dad on trial for trying to murder their daughter in an honor killing. Those of you who may be familiar with Sharia law and the culture of the Middle East know that when young women act in a promiscuous manner and people believe that they have done things that are of a reproductive nature when they shouldn't have, that sometimes the brothers and the fathers are responsible for killing them in order to cleanse the honor of the family. Now, I don't know how that works because I can't imagine anything more brutal, more cruel, or more completely out of the ordinary than killing your child to salve your particular honor. But that is the culture in certain parts of the Middle East, and that's where these people come from who are on trial today. They come from the Middle East, and they are accused of trying to do an honor killing. But it isn't just in this case that the young lady who was attempted to be killed was seeing an American boy or thinking about getting into a relationship or being in a relationship with that young man. Rather, her parents had other plans for her. They were going to marry her off in an arranged marriage to another man hundreds of thousands, or I guess thousands of miles away in another country. They were going to send her out of her country, where I believe she had probably been born, over to another country in order to gain some favor with some rich person over there for whatever purpose they may have felt that that was reasonable. This is where cultures clash. Unfortunately, the fact that they were doing an arranged marriage to an older man that she did not want to go through with is not going to come in this case. The judge has ruled it inadmissible. And I did not hear in the opening statements anything about an honor killing. And what is really troubling about that is that the opening statement of the state didn't get anywhere close to that. But to me, the opening statement of the defense attorney appears to have opened that door. So let's take a listen to a little bit of the state's opening statement, and then we'll do a little bit of the defense's opening statement in this case.
Get off of her. Let go of her. Somebody call the cops. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, those were some of the frantic words from numerous Timberline High School students as they watched the defendant, Ihsan Ali, put his 17-year-old daughter, Fatima Ali, in a headlock at the inner city transit bus stop in front of Timberline High School. Those were the same frantic words from the same set of students as they watched Mr. Ali compress Fatima's neck until her eyes rolled into the back of her head, until her face turned pale, and until she lost consciousness. The students will tell you that as they were at the bus stop minding their own business and waiting for the bus to show up, Fatima's father arrived. And shortly after his arrival, an argument ensued between Mr. Ali and his daughter Fatima. He will also tell you that a struggle ensued, and when Isaiah, her boyfriend, tried to help her, Mr. Ali punched Isaiah in the face. Fatima will tell you that after Mr. Ali punched Isaiah in the face, he then proceeded to grab her and wrap his arm around her neck. She will tell you that after that, things became a little bit blurry and a little bit hazy for her, and she doesn't remember much about what happened after her father put his arms around her neck because she eventually lost consciousness. Fatima will tell you that when she came to, she saw that her mother was also on the ground with her, and rather than helping her, her mother at one point also wrapped her arms around Fatima's neck, which caused Fatima to have difficulty breathing. You will, in fact, get to see the videos for yourself during the course of this trial. And finally, another set of witnesses you will hear from are the medical professionals from Providence. And they will tell you about the effects of strangulation on the human body. They will also tell you about the injuries that they observed on Fatima.
Now, I shortened that down quite a bit. I tried to give you the substance of what was being presented. She gave out the facts. She did it without a great deal of emotion. She didn't emphasize anything greatly. There was no fire, no passion. It was a B minus opening statement on behalf of the prosecution. There really shouldn't be a whole lot of emotion necessary in this case because you don't usually have in this country two parents trying to kill their daughter. But that's what happened here, and I don't want to minimize that. But instead of taking the position of explaining the culture or any of that with respect to what happened, being relieved of that responsibility by the court's order, the defense attorney essentially starts talking about Fatima having run away. Let's listen.
Please give your full attention to Mr. Kading as he makes opening statement on behalf of defendant Mr. Ali.
Couple of things. This case is about October 18th of 2024. October 18th, 2024 was not a day like any other day. You're going to hear from witnesses about what happened that day. I'm going to tell you the day started early, about 4 a.m. You can hear Fatima say that she left her house. She ran away from home. She didn't tell anybody. She had never said anything about leaving home. She knew for a fact she was going to be traveling later that day. She didn't talk to her parents about what was happening in terms of her not wanting to go. She didn't make any complaints to them. She just got up early and left the house. Her parents, concerned when they woke up, they called the police and made a report that she had run away. They went out and looked for her. They talked to the police throughout the day. You're going to hear from Officer Hang, who's going to say, yeah, he talked to them throughout the day. They were never told one thing about where she was. You're going to hear she was at Timberline High School most of the day. You're going to hear that she had told people she had run away. But you're also going to hear they never relayed that information. You're going to hear that Mr. Ali went to the school to look for her. You're going to hear that he was sitting in his car waiting after school to see if he could see her come out. And you're going to see that he saw her. What you're also going to hear is from Isaiah Williams. Isaiah Williams saw Mr. Ali's truck before Mr. Ali saw him. And he said to his friend, when he saw him sitting there, before anything had happened, he said, be ready. It's an unusual statement, but that's what he said. You are going to hear that Mr. Ali had a conversation with his daughter about coming home. Not yelling, not out of anger at that point. And you're going to hear that Isaiah and Fatima started struggling. Isaiah inserted himself into the situation. He got between mother and daughter. He was going to be, as a 16-year-old kid, the person making decisions back in this case. You're going to hear him testify that he was punched. But you're going to watch video in this case. And it's very important, the video in this case, because this incident was captured on video in its entirety. People are going to testify to different things, but I want you to be careful about what they say versus what you see. They're different, and you're going to see that. I'm going to ask you to take careful notes of what people say. And I'm going to ask you to carefully watch the videos that are going to come up here. And I'm going to ask you to compare them. You're going to see the credibility as an issue in this case. People don't always remember what's going on. Fortunately for Mr. Ali in this case, it's on video.
Do you see what he's doing there? He's not attacking the idea that he choked this girl into unconsciousness or that the mom wrapped her hands around her neck. He's not contesting any of those facts. He's making it look like this is a normal approach to someone running away from home. But the key phrase in all of that was what he said near the very beginning. She knew she was going to be traveling that day. Let's listen to that part again.
You hear Fatima say that she left her house. She ran away from home. She didn't tell anybody. She had never said anything about leaving home. She knew for a fact she was going to be traveling later that day. She didn't talk to her parents about what was happening in terms of her not wanting to go.
Ignore for a moment the inanity of claiming that choking your daughter to death is an appropriate response to running away from home. Most of us would recognize that that's just a little bit over the top. Instead, focus on the fact of what he said. She knew she was going to be traveling that day and that she didn't want to go. She didn't want to go overseas. She didn't want to be bartered like a piece of furniture to be sold to a man who was going to capitalize on having a 16-year-old girl as his wedded partner. Something that I think is truly odious, and I think it's one of those things that ought to be banned worldwide. You should not sell someone into what amounts to slavery in some respects because of the strictness of the way the world works in the part of the world where she was going to be going to. It may actually have been a death sentence just to send her over there. These are difficult cultural issues, and I'm not trying to point fingers at any particular culture. I'm just saying that based on an American point of view, if the jury knew that this woman was going to be sold, essentially sold, I guess there's not any actual evidence that money was going to change hands, but it was an arranged marriage. There had to be some quid pro quo, whether it was money or property or something else. This is the kind of thing that I think a jury would recognize, hey, that seems pretty reasonable to us that the kid didn't want to go. I think if you put that together with how he reacted to it by trying to kill her, I think a jury would probably convict without a second thought. And maybe that's what the judge wants to prevent. Maybe she just wants to make it about the evidence of the actual assault and the compression of the airway. But I'm afraid the jury is getting a very sanitized view of the relationship here, and that I think is wrong. And I also think that by mentioning it in the way that he did, where she was traveling to and she didn't want to go, that sanitizes it in such a way that it opens the door for someone to explain exactly why she didn't want to go. And the judge obviously made a different determination there, but I think it is a wrong determination. When you come to the United States, you need to adjust to our culture, and you need to obey our laws. There is no special dispensation in American law for honor killing, nor is there any special dispensation in American law that allows you to essentially work an arranged marriage and send a child over to a foreign country to be married off. I think in that situation, what you have here is One of the things that's probably more disturbing to me than anything else is the idea that the mother involved herself and attempted to strangle the child herself. And that should just never happen. This is going to be an interesting trial, but it's also going to be a difficult trial to watch and listen to. As you look at the defendants and they sit there impassive without a whole lot of feeling on their face, just listening to the testimony, they have interpreters to interpret the English for both of the Ali defendants. I would believe that since they have been in the United States, they probably understand English well enough to know what's being said. But they asked for interpreters, and the court in Washington granted that request and gave them interpreters. The law often does a bad job of dealing with clashes of culture, of how things work in the country where someone came from versus how something works in this country. And I don't believe there should be any leniency when someone comes here and tries to apply the law from their country in our country because it's their child. Every child has the right to grow up without abuse, without neglect, and certainly without essentially being kidnapped and taken to another country to be placed into the custody of an older man. And I think we can all agree as to what the purpose of that is, at least as far as the other person's interest in that kind of arrangement. So, as you listen to this trial, it's going to be hard not to be judgmental. I already feel judgmental, and I'm trying to be not judgmental. But this is so foreign to me, it really is vexing. And I hope you'll offer some thoughts and some comments as we go through this trial. And perhaps some of you who have some experience in this area may be able to explain things and offer some context that maybe is missing at this point. So thank you very much, and I'll catch you in the next video.
That's what I have for you today. I hope you found it helpful, interesting, or maybe both. If there's a subject you'd like me to discuss, please feel free to send me an email at the address above. If you like what we do, please feel free to subscribe and come on back to the beach tomorrow. I release videos every weekday, weather and work permitting. If you have the opportunity today, do a kindness for your fellow man. It makes the world a better place, one kind act at a time. And now, YouTube has some suggestions for other videos of mine that you might like.